called Prajapati. There's another speculation that the universe has been fashioned by a great architect, and they call him Vishwakarma. There is another which likens creation to a cosmic egg, Hiranyagarbha. There is a fourth which ultimately hits on the idea of something existing by itself, what you call a swarm. And it says that somebody or something breathed on its own when there was neither something nor nothing. Very interesting. Now, all these are speculations by great sages. Maybe it is their own inner voices telling them, maybe it is voices from outside telling. But the important difference between these speculations and what is stated here is that here there is no speculation. Here it says, this great creator God has come down to me, has told me that I am the be-all and end-all of everything. One. Second, told me why I am here. Third, told me where I am progressing to. Fourth, finally told me that there will be a stage when death will be removed, which is called Ameretat. And when death is removed, and when everybody is capable of peaceful coexistence with everybody else, there will be immortality. Now this is the great vision. And this great vision doesn't come, as he says, from my mind. I am the first, he says in 2 ways, to have been revealed this from an almighty God, which is an outside source. Second, Zoroaster's revelation, so to speak, is exactly the Judeo-Christian Islamic tradition which follows. Now, in early Judaism, you had nothing like heaven, hell, you had some small place called Sheol. Nobody bothered about it. Post-exilic Judaism, when they were introduced, when they were influenced by Zoroastrian, they broke into 3 groups: Sadducees, Pharisees, and Essenes. The Pharisees believed in an afterlife because of what they were taught by the Magi. And then finally you have Jesus coming in again as a Jew, but as a complete reformist, who gives you the same identical concept of why we are here, where we are going, how we taste heaven or hell depending, and All Souls Day, which then leads to a resurrection. And finally, what the Quran tells you 600 years ago. So, not only is this revelation something which was the first in its time, but it has been repeatedly given by various others who claim to have been persons who saw God. So the difference between, and the Quran tells us, interestingly enough, that there is a difference between a Rasulullah and a Nabi. A Rasulullah is somebody who has had communion with Allah. A Nabi hasn't. All the seers of the Rig Vedas are Nabi. Zoroaster is a Rasulullah, Muhammad is the last Rasul. Just as Zoroaster is the first, he is the last. We have got a message from this Creator. How each one gets the message is again different. Zoroaster gets it through his own mind. Muhammad gets it through Archangel Gabriel. But the important part is the essence of what the afterlife consists of is identity. In all these ways. And you are also given by a subsequent hadith, which is what other commentators say about the Quran. That from the beginning of time there were 313 messengers, Zoroaster to Muhammad, and 311 in between. And up till the Quran there were some 1,24,000 odd Nabis who were holy. So thank you for the question, it's an important one. Yes. It is very important to remind yourself. You see, one very interesting verse in the Gatha tells you that prayer is essential only to do good. It's a beautiful verse, we'll come to it. And if you pray every day, what does prayer give you? Prayer gives you serenity. Prayer gives you focus. Prayer gives you so many things, including the most important thing according to me, which is to know what you pray, so that you can translate it into doing something.
On the Shemvo, when we were young, we were always given the translation that truth is the highest good.
Yes.
Now, as a child, you always thought that truth meant not telling lies. As you grow older, you realize that the truth covers aspects of creation, devotion, faith. Is there anything in the Gathas which give a wider definition of what truth really means?
Yes, there is. See, one very interesting verse again tells you that the very embodiment of truth, Asha, it's a very peculiar expression. Asha doth not disunite. Now, what is the meaning of doth not disunite? It means it is the only real binding force. It binds persons who are like and alike. And the Gathas tell you also another very important thing, that the positive aspect, if you may put it that way, of truth is more stressed than the negative. The negative is don't tell lies. The positive is live along the path of truth. It's a path. You have to traverse it every day. There are thorns on this path. And these thorns are going to prick you, sometimes hit you very hard. It is these pricks and hits which are likened to the test of molten metal through which every soul is to go. And better you do it now than face it after death. So the Gathas again tell you very clearly, the positive aspect of truth is facing up to obstacles, surmounting them, and thereafter spreading happiness. The very opening lines of Kushtavar Gatha are the most beautiful. Kushta ammai yammai kushta kammai chit, which means what? Happiness to him who gives happiness to whomsoever else. So the ultimate aim of this is spread light, not darkness, spread happiness, not misery, and do it by surmounting obstacles. Do it also by living by this path. Yes. Any of this in the Gathas. No, it can come from so many sources. It can come again from Nabis as opposed to Rasulullah. It can come from people who have different experiences. You are not given any of this here. This is a very simple, down to earth, but very difficult philosophy to put into practice. And the four mental gifts, because this is where you come to Vakyavus, Dastam, Anand. What are these gifts? You are told there are four of them. Devishi, Uttayiti, Urvatat, and America. Two when you live, two after you die. Now what is Devishi? Devishi is the strength, the character that you will receive as a result of living by the path of truth. You will be able to face anything. Uttayiti, your entire life will take on a different meaning. It's almost as if you will be born again. These are the two mental gifts given. Now, if you are born again, you will be born again in many ways, one of which is what you said. And after you die, it is when you are able to coexist peacefully with somebody else that you become who? Whole. And only when you become old will death be removed. So these are the four gifts. Yes?
The path of truth that you're talking about is as you see personally. So does that mean that it's subjective or objectively you will be subjective to others?
Yes, it could, because, see, don't forget one other very important thing. Truth as you see it is conditioned by other things, such as non-violence. That's very important. When I come to the Kushti prayer, which I am about to come to, one of the most important things is in the Jasne Avangya Bhakta prayer, which is Praspayo Kedra, Nidha Snaitisha. What is a Snaitisha? A sword. What is Nidha? Put it back. Never use it. So, the truth as you see it doesn't mean that it gives you license to be a fanatic and be violent with others. So, what is important is, as I told you in the very beginning, these two fundamental prayers are building blocks of what is coming. You must first understand the building blocks, and then what comes gives you a complete perception of what then comes. See, the Vendida, as I told you, is heavier because it's one out of the 21 compilations of the Emperor Vorgoses made 2000 years ago, which continues to exist in its entirety. All the rest have been destroyed. So therefore, because it is this compilation, it is given great resonance by the Parsis. In essence, the first Fargat, which is chapter 1, speaks of the 16 different regions of the world, and also speaks of a Vara, which is very interesting, happens only in our faith, as opposed to Noah's Ark. Now you have the great flood in every other ancient civilization. In ours, in the time of the reign of King Jamshed, you had probably an ice age. And because of that ice age, instead of water engulfing, people went underground into a Vara. And everybody was saved because King Jamshed took them down into this massive underground camp, which perhaps could be in a place called Berikulu in Turkey today. Right? So you are told about these things in Fargat 1. Fargat 19, the last, you are told about various temptations of the Prophet Zoroastrian. But short of these two things, between 2 to 18, you have an ancient code of law, fundamentally criminal. If you kill an otter, you get 80 stripes. If you kill a dog, you get hanged, etc., etc. If you touch a corpse, not only will you get flayed, but you will have to undergo tremendous purification and then be flayed, etc. Most of this does not seem to have much relevance to it. But the reverence according to this oneness is because it happens to come down to us intact.
Therefore, it got translated into all sorts of rituals that
Ritual again is a different part. You want to know, interestingly enough, the Kushti prayer itself has an extract from the Vedanta. After Kamna Mazda, there is another Gathic verse. And then that Nasai Daivi Duksh part is from the Vedanta. And that part, which is taken from chapter 6, if I remember right, of the Vedanta, is only this, that when anything comes to afflict you, we want that affliction to disappear. That's all, simple. And disappear where? In the north. Why in the north? Because in Persia, everything cold and dark was in the north. Had you been in Australia, it would have been in the south.
the 20 part that, I mean, after which only the Vedas survived, then how come the Gatha survived and how much of the Gatha survived?
Yeah, very good question again. See, the Gathas are 5 in number. All of you know that, right? The first is called the Gatha Aunavaiti. Now, I don't know why it's called Aunavaiti. Because the other 4 Gathas are so called only because of their opening words. Ushta Vaiti because the first word is Ushta. Spenta Vaiti because the first word is Spenta. But the first word here is not Avna. In any case, that's a conundrum to me. The other four are so called because of their opening words. They don't signify much. But what is important is that there was no written language at the time. Because there was no written language, you had to, if you wanted something to pass down from generation to generation, you had to compose it in the form of poetry. So what was done was, you have the Auna Vaiti, which is a compilation of certain hymns, put into 7 chapters, all of which follow a particular meter from the poetical point of view. That's why they're bunched together. The second Ushta Vaiti, different meter, again bunched together. Specta, mind you, a completely different meter bunched together. Then one standalone Bhaukshatri, and the last standalone, which is really not a Gatha in the sense that it cannot be ascribed to Prophet Zoroastrian. It happens only after he dies. So, Gatha 1, Gatha 2, Gatha 3, Gatha 4 are believed by us to have been composed by the Prophet himself. Composed in poetical form. Handed down from generation to generation only when they conned it by rote, not written. And written perhaps, depending on when he lived, thousands of years after. And because it is widely disseminated among so many people, it has come down exactly as it is. 1. 2. How do we know it's come down as it is? The last Gatha has plenty of interpolation. You can make out straight away. The Yasna, the last Gatha has lots of interpolations. Other people have shoved things into it. That's possible with the later Ijasni because it no longer follows meter, no longer is in the form of poetry. So, at least Gathas 1 to 4 have come down intact. And when you follow a Rigvedic Sanskrit dictionary, their meaning tells you they have come down intact. Because there is no stronger test than the content. The content tells you, yes, they have come down. Because the content does not have any of the old gods, goddesses, etc. who creep back. There is no Mitra, there is no Varun, there is no Om. In fact, you are told that things like the Om cult are like this. This is the strong word Mutar. That there are false priests who are fascinating people by cults like this. Capture. So, the content then confirms that it has come down exactly as it is. And what is interesting is, the Prophet is a man clearly seeking the truth all the time. And is extremely humble, you see. He comes to as an extremely humble human being. He also asks God, look, I am your appointed designate, but am I on the right path? Please tell me. I don't know whether I am on the right path. So, fortunately for us, because there is this oral tradition, because it's in poetical form, it has come down to us more or less as it was. Now, whether it's all that he said or whether it's part of what he said.
Of the Nasks?
No, what happened with the Nasks is apparently there were these compilations dealing with different things, astrology, astronomy, medicine, all sorts, creation. When Alexander came, apparently in a fit, when he was in a drunken stupor, he was reminded by a courtesan called Thais, Athenian courtesan, that Darius had put Athens to torch in 490 BC. Now see this massive city and see this huge empire do the same thing as well. Drunken fit, he put it to torch, and apparently some 12,000 odd ox skins on which all this was written was also burned. As a result of which you had the first loss, so to speak. Put together again by war forces, again second loss after the Arabs came and everything scattered. Just one second. Yes.
Where is that falling?
It's a Pahlavi text dealing with creation
At what stage?
from the beginning.
That came.
Creation from the beginning. That's a much later work.
That was safe.
But yes, that's the. But whether it reflects what was in the Damdat Nask, not certain. Damdat Nask is also dealing with creation. God knows what it dealt with apart from what the Buddha says.
So it was made based on that, but not sure how it was.
No. Sorry.
When we talk about creation or Mahavira or following the heart of truth, does it also talk about executing our karma so that we can live a better life?
You see, the concept of karma, I would ask you not to bring in here. Karma goes with reincarnation. Reincarnation has no part in the Gathas. Very clear. Doesn't say a word about reincarnation. Even though I will show you verses where some priests have tried to find reincarnation. So you keep all your other concepts apart. It's very important for you to keep it and look at this as it is. First, understand it for what it is. Then, bring in what you already know. It's very important to keep everything aside first. Understand this first for what it is. Don't clutter your mind with what is already there. No, it's important to tell you at the outset also.
That there is no connection.
You see, karma is a very simple doctrine. The doctrine is there in virtually every living religion, except for maybe the Charvak school or some such thing. As you sow, so shall you reap. Simple. As you sow, so shall you reap is there everywhere, most so here. But not karma in that sense. As you sow, so shall you reap, yes.
This right.
How you will reap is completely different. How you will reap is completely different here as opposed to what the Jains say, as opposed to what the Buddhists say, as opposed to what 100 others say. What this says you must understand for yourself.
Why do they say that see, these are both very powerful prayers in and of themselves. So I know that in times of trouble, instinctively I'll start saying Gatha, non-stop basically. Yeah. But then when a soul is passing at the time of death, you're supposed to keep saying Hashem over there. Why is that? What is it in Hashem that will help the soul cross from here to
According to me, nothing. You ask me personally, nothing.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that that's the...
Nothing. Now, what priestly practices are over the centuries is no part of this law. Right? There are many things which may have good in them, which may have bad in them, we don't know. It is important for me only to impart to you what according to me Prophet Zoroastrian says. Nothing more, nothing less. Nothing less. Now, why somebody should whisper Hashem going to somebody's ear is no part of this lecture.
And what is the import of saying these prayers aloud? Is there any import in that?
The import is only this, that it tells you what to do. You see, one is, it's for your own peace of mind, put it there. Perhaps get peace of mind by chanting something aloud. Perhaps. But the idea is what the Gathas tell. Grant me goodness as a reward for praying. There's a direct Gatha in this. Idea is fundamentally to understand what you pray so that you can translate it into everyday life. Very important. Apart, just one second. I'm sorry, I'm not.
Apart from Athavaryo or Shemmo, Kushti prayer,
Yeah.
are there any other prayers talked of in the Gathas or mentioned?
Gathas don't speak of any prayers. It's the other way around. The Gathas are the oldest.
Yeah.
The Kushti prayer happens to take two verses from the Gathas centuries later. It's the other way around, completely. Adarban Maraspan lives between 309 and 379 AD, which is Shapo's name. This was composed any time before 1000 BC. You get the timeline?
So it is only Athavaryo and Shemmo can be traced back directly to the
Again, they are no part of the Gathas. It's interesting. Yatha Uvedyo is not a prayer in any of these 200 odd hymns. Neither is the Asham. But they were probably considered so fundamental, and they've come down to us as the two fundamental prayers, that they were obviously uttered by the Prophet himself. They are not part of the Gathas. You see, Yenge Hatam is first and foremost a Pazan prayer. So it is again 2,000-3,000 years after these two prayers. It has its genesis, however, in the Ailiyaman Isho prayer, which is Yasna 54.1, which will come to it. So it is a completely different prayer and it comes centuries and centuries after.
This follows that you have to have the knowledge of the Gathas. You should ideally have the knowledge of the Gathas and practice that knowledge rather than relying on the power of saying and reciting these prayers.
You see, the power of saying and reciting may be good for you individually. May be good for you individually. Right? But the message that comes across is very clearly the doing of good things. Because in the very verse, it's a very beautiful verse. When you ask this question, turn to its status. Come first to chapter 45. All of you have got 45 at page 229. This is the third chapter of the second Gatha. The verse in particular is verse 8, which you will find at 236. 236. 236 at the bottom. You got it? Now let me read the translation immediately after the Avestan, slowly. Him will I seek to turn with hymns of adoration. For now verily I have seen him with my soul's eye. As I told you, Jasmaini Vyagarisam. You will find that in the second line, the Avesta. Temnes Tautais Nemannaho A Vyagaraso. Nuzi Jasmaini Vyagarisam. Got it? Right? Now when he sees the Almighty with his mind's eye, what is the first thing he is told? Good thought, deed and word. This is very important. Your humatta, hutta, uvasta come from here. Good thought, deed and word. Having first realized through Asha. Now therefore what's he telling you? When you live by the path of truth, what is the path of truth? Good thoughts, good words. Having done this, I have been favored with my mind's eye seeing the Almighty. Therefore, let us lay down our devotions before Him. In Garodeman, which as I told you earlier is our concept of heaven. So you see, what is interesting here is that you are told specifically, look, when you follow the path of Asha, when you think good, translate it into good words and translate it into good deeds, only then will you get this great vision, and only then will you progress. In fact, at this stage also there is a very lovely saying of the great Dastur Nadarban Marasman again, who is the guy who, as you know, formulated our Dastur prayer. He put it so beautifully when he said, God may give you wisdom, but unless it translates itself into courage as well, what's the point? So wisdom must go with courage. He may give you intelligence, but what's the point again? Unless that intelligence is far-seeing and not short-sighted. Third is what is in this verse. What's the point of a good thought unless it is translated into a good deed? And fourth, and what is most important, you may have enormous wealth. No point unless you are generous. So this again is stated so beautifully by the man who formulated this custom. Another very interesting thing he tells us is never sit in a seat where you are liable to be unseated later. He tells people like me, when you speak, don't be a bore. Interesting, very interesting, practical admonition. And another thing, he said, tells you how beautifully you view half a glass, the famous thing. You look at the water or you look at what is empty. Now he tells you, moment something bad befalls you, think that it's a great thing that has happened. Something worse could have befallen you. For example, in the entire armory of the devil, one more arm has gone. And things of that nature. So, this is all wisdom literature which has been devised by our priest, which is also there, and which should be separately read.
We have the concept of devil.
Sorry?
You mentioned devil. We have the concept of devil.
You will find, interestingly enough, in the Gathas there is no devil. In the Gathas you have one supreme, all-powerful God. He at the beginning of time creates two spirits, which are two minds, and gives them the power of choice. This is all allegorical. One chooses good, one chooses bad. So the one who chooses good is called Spenta Mani. Spenta, the spirit that chose correctly. The one which chose badly is called Angra. The English word anger. Anger is one of the evils spoken of constantly. Now, interestingly enough, again, you will find both concepts in the Kasti prayer. You will find Angra Mainyu specifically spoken of in the Avestan part, and Aryaman, the full-grown devil, spoken of in the Auravasta part. Both.
But not in
Gathas does not have any Aryaman. There is no embodiment of evil. There is one supreme, all-great God who has given the power of choice to persons like us. You choose badly, you are called Agra. But interestingly enough, the embodiment of evil, who is Aryaman, is the very next word after Auravasta God. Aryaman, the evil. Yes, you are both.
I have some questions.
Try to get my
On the word?
Gatha, who are you? Gatha.
Gatha is nothing, it means just as. Gatha is meaningless, don't focus on it at all. Gatha, from the point of view of your understanding, Gatha is meaningless. Just as, that's all.
The second thing is, people always say three Gatha and two Hashem. So what is the...
Again, no part of this lecture. It's very important to stay away from things which are outside. No part of this lecture.
Is there a manner and a time, etc. to say these prayers, or when we have to say it, is it said in any form? When you say this,
None whatsoever. Yes.
Trying to get the dates right. If we take writing from around 3000 BC or so, 2500 Akkadian uniform, and Zoroastrian was around 1000.
Nobody knows.
So, but yet none of it were recorded. When writing was
Nobody thinks the first problem is nobody knows. You must face it and say nobody in fact knows. You can only say yes before 500 BC. Now when we don't know. Nobody has the slightest idea. The Greeks in 300 BC said he lived 6,000 years before, so we don't know. That would put him way before the Rig Veda has been written, which is not correct again. Unless the Rig Veda is wrongly dated. We don't know.
Should the Vedita be prayed or should it just be something that's read and absorbed and understood?
Again, entirely up to you.
I have a further question.
Yeah.
Your Rohinton, why priests always say that once another passes away, one day that's wrong, or is this one?
But this one,
No part of this lecture series, sorry. No part. See, I don't want to digress into a moment to get into this.
so
This goes for us.
go on to the Kanna?
Sorry?
Why would we go on to the Kasti prayer now?
Yes, sure. Have you had enough for today or you want me to do the Kasti prayer as well?
And she's done your, and
How do you know that? You're probably filled with negative emotion. I know.
But nobody knows which one.
Nobody.
And all the time I've been told it to work out very good.
Anyway, so that again is totally out. Please understand. This is neither a comparative religious class nor is this meant as, you know, as something where your personal problems are going to be sorted out by me. I'm not here
So
for
is
that
there any
purpose.
mention of people with disabilities?
Now be careful. I am not here for that purpose. I am here to impart to you what is stated by Prophet Zoroaster according to me. After which, if it helps you, thank God. Now may I progress, because otherwise, you know, yes. You people are ready for the custodian. This again will require a lot of concentration. You have Kemna Mazda first. Turn straight away to Yasnaha 46.7, because that is Kemna Mazda. Here. 46.7 at page 246. Please remember, when you study this book, the Avnaveti Gatha is from 28 up till 34. Kushti, the second of which this part, the chapter is a part, begins with 43, and this is the last chapter. 43, 44, 45, 46. I'm sorry. No, it is relevant only to find it and to know what you are doing. See 46.7. Now, you will find the first part of Kemna Mazda as in Gathic verse, which is directly lifted. Correct? Up to Tamai Dastavam Dainaya Pravaucha. Correct? What does it mean? I'll read the English translation first and then attempt to explain it. Whom Mazda has now appointed protector over one life, when the follower of Arjun sets himself against me with violence, other than fire and might. Through the working of these two, thy eternal law is fulfilled. This sacred law do thou clearly declare to me for my inner self. Now, see, the first thing you have to understand here is the meaning of a few Gathic words. Kem na, the word na is man. Please make a note. Man. M-A-N. So you are talking of a human being. This is very important. So which human being is going to protect me when I am threatened with violence? The answer is no human being. No human being. Only two things will protect me, myself, that is my own mind, and fire, which is the symbol of truth. Atha, you will find in the Gathas, is a living symbol of what is truthful. Now, why there are so many reasons? It points upwards, it is light as opposed to darkness, it burns up evil, etc., etc. So, all that this prayer is telling you is, which man will look after me when I am in distress and somebody is jumping on me with violence? Answer is nobody except you yourself, through your own mind and through fire, which is by following the path of truth. Alright? Please declare this to me very clearly, is the last sentence. So interestingly enough, Adarban Maraspan picks this up and then goes to the question chapter. Now, 2 chapters before this, Zoroaster is asking questions constantly. And in the question chapter, there is somebody appointed to protect you. And that somebody is a Ratu. Ratu. Gatha, Ahuvayu, Atha, Ratus. Ratu. come to 44.16 for the second part. Page 224.
Page what?
224. Now you will notice that the first line is missing in the Kanna Mandapa. Tattva Peresa Eresma Bhavchaura. That's the first line, the question asked by Zoroaster in every one of the verses of this chapter. That first line only means, this do I ask thee, tell me truly. Therefore, this is the question chapter. Zoroaster's questioning God. So Adarbat Maharaspan left this out because it didn't gel with the first part. Carries on with the next part. K violet thread jump. Correct? Alright? And you come up to Vasi combined cheat, which is the second part of Kamnaman. Now here again, there is the same thought as in Kamnaman. Who is going to be protector over me when I am threatened with violence then? So here again it says, who is going to protect me, who is going to teach me? And the answer that is given is that a Ratu will teach me. You will find the word Ratum in the third line in the Avesta. Chitra Moy Da Maun Bis Ratum Chis. Got it? And then along with this, what you are also told is that Ratu will have to exercise his conscience. The word Sarosh comes from the Rigvedic word Su. Su means to hear from within. To hear from within. You got it? The expression Sruti as opposed to Smriti, what is remembered. So what has been heard and given from generation to generation. Here, Sarosh comes from the word Sru, that is to hear from within, your conscience. So, the second part only tells you that as the first part has said, rely on yourself, the second part seems to be a question of Zoroaster. And the question again takes you back to the first part, because according to me, the question is answered in the first part. It's the other way around. So perhaps this should have come first and that should have come second. Perhaps. But the answer is again very clear. The answer is, a Ratu will help me. Who is a Ratu? Again, the man who lives by the path. The man who lives by the path of truth. So these are reasonably obscure verses. I don't know frankly why they were put up. But the important thing that comes through is that the idea of developing your own strength and character seems to be uppermost, which is through following Ashram. And then after this, you have that extract from the Vandira, which frankly in today's world doesn't contain much meaning, because it's only telling you utterly perish, utterly go those who, wish to destroy God's good creation, Ma-merit childs. And that after that extract from the Vandita, then again comes one line picked up from the Spectra Menu Gatha, 49.10. Come here, to page 286. Line 3 in the other side. Got it? Nemascha ya Advaiti Sisacha. Everybody got it?
Yes.
You remember that's the last part of the Karnam of the plan, right? this line is picked up. What does Nemascha mean? Nemascha is the same as Nammanu, Gujarati, to be humble. Keep trying to find, some word which has meaning here. You'll get the essence later. Nammanu. So with humility, Isa is wish, desire. Will I become right-minded, mighty, right? Will I think correctly? So what does this line mean in short? It is only when you are humble and you wish to think correctly that you will progress. Alright, so this is your first lesson in the Gatha. One verse picked up, the second verse, which ought according to me have been put first, is put second, with one line missed out, and then one line picked up for me. To make a compilation of what your Kemnamanta prayer is, with that little bit of Avesta from Vandita.
So the Sabra and Kushti only originated at this time.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows that.
There's a lot else. It's only a beginning. It is small beginning. No, it's not. It's not after you ask the question after the consequence. Just now you hardly begun. Don't forget, you will keep progressing because there's a hell of a lot in this which has to be imparted, which has been touched yet. We are only on the Kushti prayer, not even begun with this. Okay, so this is Kemnamanta. Auramasta Khodai now is in the spoken language of the day, it's Assyrian time. So it's like English or Gujarati today. It's in a different language altogether. This was dead at that point of time. Kemnamasta, verse 2, the Avesta part of the Vandida and Nemascha was all dead. Because in a dead language in the day of Nariman Manasman. So whether most people understood it, didn't understand it, God alone knows. This part is the part which was in English, Gujarati, etc., which people understood immediately. Now the Auramasta Khodai prayer is Adarban Manasman's own. And beautifully it kind of tells you about 11 types of evils which are specifically fleshed out, which one should stay away from. Now the first thing it tells you is Auramasta Khodai, which is God. Khodai is only an affirmation of God again. Auramasta Khodai. Nariman is now the full-blown devil who opposes God. So don't be like the full-blown devil who opposes God. Nariman. Daivan. Persons who believe in more gods than one. Trujan, liars. Jaduan, answers itself. Darvandan is repeated twice, interestingly enough. Why? Because he's at pains to tell you that if you leave the path of the faith, you will be rudderless. A Darvan is a person who has left the faith. Darvanda. Then you have Gunegaran, sinner. Ashmogan, person with scant respect for Asha, truth. The key words are Kikan, Karefana. Kikan and Karefana being willfully blind, willfully deaf, which are Gatha. They appear here in the verses. And he tells you that that is a terrible form of evil. You see something bad going on, don't shut your eyes to it. You hear something bad going on, don't shut your ears to it. Sastara, very interesting. A tyrant. A person who's tyrannous. And then again, Nariman that repeating. So, it is telling you, fleshing out for you what evil is. And telling you that all these 11 types of evils try and be far away from. And the second part of the prayer is only re-emphasizing the verse I read. That for all my sins, I genuinely repent and I genuinely wish to replace them with good thought, good word. Manashni, Gavashni, Gunashni. The Pahlavi equivalent of the Avesta. So this second part is the part which Adarban Manaspan tells you for himself in the spoken language of the day. Very easy to understand, very easy to implement, and not so easy to implement when it comes to shutting your ears and shutting your eyes. And then you come to the last part, which is again in Avesta. So please remember, Kemnamazda verse 1 directly Gathic Avesta. Verse 2, Ke Varithrenja, again Gathic Avesta. Patanota Vishyantan Paidi, Vendida. Avesta, not Gathic Avesta, another language. Nemaschaya, Armentis Isacha, back to Gatha. Auramasta Khodai, Pahlavi, completely different language. Then the last part of this you will find Shnamtrauramatta, which means glory to God. Angra Mainush, as opposed to Ariman. So that's why I said both concepts are here. Full grown devil as opposed to the Mainu which chose wrongly. Haitya Varstam, Hyat Varstam, Farshostamem Stavnyashem. That only means, the last part only means that all good basically comes from the Lord. And this everybody understands. Everybody who has a reasonable intellect understands. So, again you will find this constant moving in and out of languages. You move from Gathic Avestan to Avestan in the first, then you come to the spoken language of the day, then you go back to Gathic Avestan. And in the confession of the faith, go back to Avesta. Jasame Avange Mazda means come to my aid, come to my help, God. And then you confess the faith for yourself. Mazda Yasno Apni, I am a follower of Mazda Yasno, which means the religion as propounded by Zarathustra. Mazda Yasno, Zarathustra. And then all it tells you is again, I obey the good word, the good thought, the good deed, etc. And the 4 key words are very beautiful. So you have Mazda Yasno, Mazda Yasno, Zarathustra. Pravarana, Astvatascha, Pravaritascha, Astvavattam, Astvavitam Vacho, thought working, Astvavattam Shukha, Astvadainam Mangu, that's the good faith as taught by Zarathustra. Then you have these concepts of Khait Vadatam, Ashamni. First Payokhegram first. First Payokhegram means what? That you are willing to give of yourself. You are willing to give of yourself, sacrifice. Nidhas Naitisha, non-violence. Put the sword back into its scabbard. Never use it. Khait Vadatam, again giving of the self. And Ashamning, following the path of it. And ended again by saying, all good emanates only from Almighty God. Never forget this. And therefore I am a follower of this faith. In brief, that is the Kushti.